to share some things that were coming up for me this morning. And I look so tired right now. But I wanted you to hear my voice, feel my energy. And then I'm just, because I have a lot of notes I want to be able to dive into, look at, that I was making, so I don't forget things. It'll be a little different than when I'm channeling light language. So I felt like this is something that I'm experiencing right now and going through, as a lot of people are. So I just wanted to share. I felt it was important to share a perspective about it that was coming through for me, and hopefully that's helpful for anybody else who is going through a lot of changes or challenges right now, internally or otherwise. But I'm gonna face the camera in a direction with some prettier things to look at, so that I can not have to think about the camera so much, because that distracts me, and kind of just share some of that information. Okay, so I'm going to start with a topic of integration, and that's what's been coming up for me. I'm currently integrating some things myself, but I think this internal dialogue flowed up this morning as I was waking up, because I'm needing to integrate on a deeper level some of the things that I am learning, some of the information that's been coming through to me. And so I was kind of having like this dialogue that was coming up around an analogy to help me kind of understand it on a deeper level. It's like, not that I don't understand it, but for some reason, maybe I've been having a little bit more of a struggle this time around, which is funny, because you think, oh, I've done this so many times, like it shouldn't be that difficult, right? If you've done a lot of integration work with shadow work and everything else, if you're doing that kind of work throughout your life, you understand what I'm talking about. You think, oh, okay, I've done this so many times now, like it shouldn't be that difficult. But we change, we grow, and we shift in so many ways. Even if you evolve more and more and more, as anyone and everyone does as they grow, right? They change, they evolve, they learn, and it can be in simplistic ways or non-simplistic ways. That can be its own topic, of course. But we think, oh, like I've already gone through this enough times, so I shouldn't be that difficult. But I don't know if it was this last retrograde, just another series of changes going on in my life, but I needed to hear it in a different way, apparently, according to my higher self and my guides. So bear with me on this. I appreciate anyone who's listening, who's maybe going through a lot of the same things. I know that the stuff that I share on my channel is only really going to be absorbed by certain people who are ready for that. And I give grace to anyone and everyone on whatever part of their journey they're on in their life. We say journey a lot in the spiritual community, and it's really just, that's what life is. It's a journey, right? From birth to childhood to teenagehood to adulthood, and so on, right? It's just such a beautiful way to look at it. That's why I like the term myself, journey. So again, it's something that a lot of people in the spiritual community speak about and discuss, integration, right? For me, it has been a very profound process at different stages of my life. And so how this is actually working inside of me right now, and use that analogy that's coming to me. There was something that was important to share in a broader way. Like, even though I was having this internal dialogue with myself and having this thought processes coming through, and trust me, I'm going to do my best to edit this from the first video to this. I don't have programs for this. I'm a little old school with the technology these days. So I do struggle with that. And so forgive me on that. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But that's part of the purpose of my channel, right? Is I'm not perfect. I'm showing up out of my comfort zone because it's needed in some way, shape, or form. And I'm guided to do that. So, right. That means sometimes the video quality or the sound quality might not be the best. I'm hoping that my voice is loud enough that you can hear it. But anyways, back to what we're talking about, and integration, right? There's been a lot of different stages in my life where I've had to do some really deep work. And I know not everybody dives into that. Some people touch upon it, what we call shadow work, working with inner child work, working with trauma, working with a lot of upsets in life, but on a deeper level, going within to work through those things. It really is all shadow work is. We throw these big words around, but it's really just tuning into yourself on a deeper level, facing those aspects of yourself that can be very challenging or painful. Memories sometimes that can come up and be very painful. And really working through them in such a way that we can let go of things. We can grieve, maybe. There's a lot of things that can happen in that process. Here I am again, I'm kind of going off topic, but it formulates into what we're talking about. We can go in a deeper level with ourselves to heal those and to integrate, okay? Some things you'll let go of because you don't need them anymore. Patterns that you use as a crutch, right, to or coping mechanisms that we go through because of whatever we experienced, right? We might let go of those. And some things that we might integrate within ourselves, like for me, use an example of feeling very neglected as a child, right? Not feeling super loved. I'm not saying that that's what I experienced, but I know a lot of people do. So I feel like it's a good example to use. And then you end up going through life in this feeling of maybe you're not good enough, you're not loved, or maybe you don't feel like you need it because you didn't get it, so it's not necessary. So an integration would be to go inside and hold those parts of your child and give yourself that love that you need. Like imagining that part of yourself and just actually reforming memories of giving yourself love, of having that love, of experiencing that love for yourself, not from anybody else necessarily, but for yourself, to show that this is a beautiful thing that you can have. And it doesn't need to be, you don't need to feel that neglect anymore or that lack of, right? And this is why we form new communities, new families, sometimes depending on what we experience growing up. And then integrating that love back into your heart, integrating that feeling of acceptance of self, integrating that understanding that you don't need to grasp for it, right? Because it's not outside of yourself that you're needing it from. You feel that way because as a species, as humans, we need that community, that love, that experience. But you have that within you, and accepting that. That's a form of integration, right? We're really diving into that aspect of self, right? So I'm just using that as an example of integration and what we're really meaning with that, right, in the spiritual community. Now, I'm not the first person to talk about this, of course. Maybe not even in this way. I haven't even gotten to the analogy I'm going to be using. It's never been shown to me in this way that I'm going to bring up before, that I'm aware of or that I've seen or divulged in online or in books. So, if there's anyone out there already talking about it in this kind of way, dude, we're just on the same page, okay? There's no copying going on. I think a lot of people have very similar insights and enlightened thought processes that are across the board. I could have this exact same dialogue and somebody in Africa be having this exact same internal dialogue as me, right? So we're just really having a shared experience with that, and we're just on the same page, right? At this point in the book, I guess you could say it that way. Okay, so I just had to switch to a completely different camera. I was using my older camera, and it's basically telling me I have no space for anything anymore. And even after deleting a bunch of stuff, it's still not letting me. It's kind of being a pain. So, but back to, so I don't know how I'm going to integrate all these videos and this information. But I'm going to do my best. I might just have to do little parts. Because, yeah, I'm not tech savvy with this stuff anymore. I used to be back in the day, but I've just kind of lost the game there with that. So anyway, I think it's important to share, as I was saying, regardless if you have gotten the same information, if you've been shown the same information in your mind. Sharing that information when it's profound to you, when it has a lot of depth, a lot of meaning to you and your experience, I think is really important to do, because everybody has a different avenue to source this information, right? And I could be reaching 5 different people in 5 different places, sharing this exact same thing that somebody else maybe reached 50 or 100 people. But none of those people are going to be in the same circles or be on the same platforms or be in the same spaces. So this is why we want to share, right? When we have these perspectives and these thought processes that come through, regardless if we feel comfortable with it or not, regardless if we, like I'm not super comfortable right now talking on the video with my face showing, but I'm doing it, right? Here's my hand, like you can hear my voice. I showed you my face earlier. That's really all that matters, is this interaction that we're having with each other. That's funny. My nephew gave that to me for my birthday. Shiitake happens. Obviously, I'm a mushroom nerd. So, anyways, I love nature. I can't help myself. Okay, so, and while I want to go into this really quickly too, because I have an EDD brain. So anybody with ADD, ADHD, or what we're like referring now outside of the autistic spectrum, we're shifting into this neurodivergent verbiage, I feel like, to encompass those of us kind of on the outskirts of that, or maybe more high functioning than that. I'm not sure. I used to study psychology, obviously, because I had issues. I was trying to figure things out, and I think a lot of people do that for that reason, obviously. And to understand myself better, to understand how I communicate, to understand other people, to understand trauma, all the things, right? And we tend to go off topic a lot. So I'm doing my very best at the moment to kind of keep myself narrowed, but I'm going to bounce around a little from time to time. It's just the way my brain works. So give me some grace and some patience with that. I appreciate it. So as we're shifting into the integration a little bit more, right? So here is finally what was coming through to me this morning. So I'm integrating some things. I'm needing to go deeper within to integrate those things and to understand some more aspects of self, right? As I'm coming kind of back online, I've been going through a lot of things that have kept me very closed off in the last year. I'm having a lot of very beautiful experiences recently in the last several months that have kind of reactivated parts of me, but I'm still kind of coming out of some previous traumatic experiences and some very unhealthy old relationship that's brought up a lot of old unhealthy relationship issues from my past. This retrograde that I completely had forgotten was even a thing anymore. So I mean, that's something that as you're going through healing work, oof, man, the things that will come up that you thought were so gone or so dead and buried or so you were over it, they're going to come up when you're really doing this work with yourself to grow and to expand. It's going to happen, right? So I was shown this example of the digestive system. Okay, I'm very connected to my digestive system and how that works because I have irritable bowel and some different other issues that I have to. I've become hyper aware of what's where at any given time in my system, food-wise or otherwise. But it was showing me this as an analogy that integration is very similar to digesting. So, right, when you're integrating, you're digesting. So the thoughts and the processes come up into your mind, right? And then they kind of shift at some point as you're going deeper into the heart space, into the root chakra, into the sacral, into those areas where you're like really looking at your foundational spaces, your relationship spaces, so on and so forth. So, and then integrating. So integration is very much like digesting food. You're intaking that. But it's not just any food, right? When you're integrating lessons, when you're integrating things that are nourishing for your soul, it's like integrating food, like fruits, like vegetables, things that are nourishing for your physical body, right? And it goes into the stomach, it sits, it breaks down. When you're going through that integration process of, okay, what did I just experience? What am I getting from this? What am I learning from this? How is this going to affect me? That's kind of like it's just sitting in that aspect of, that acidic breakdown. Like you're breaking everything down a little bit deeper so that it can flow easier to the other spaces to, again, be more readily digested and more readily integrated into the self, right? And my brain was going on this for a while, like in a way that I'm making a video about it. And then like, this is really the end of the analogy. Like it's just me talking about digesting food, like digesting or integrating information. Anyways, there's so much of a process with that, right? But I think it's something that we can all relate to on a humanistic level, right? Because we eat regularly and we understand the process of how digestion works, right? And then that's how you consume your nutrients. Like things have to break down in such a way that your body is really absorbing the nutrients and the nutrition that's coming in, right? That's beneficial for your body, for your bones, for this, for that, and for everything that helps you function in a physical form. And going through all these life lessons and diving in and really digesting this integration work to really feed the soul and nourish the soul, the heart, the mind, all the energetic systems together, right? But we're doing it on a conscious level. Whereas, physically digesting food it's kind of unconscious. You're not really thinking about it. It's just happening. But when we're integrating and fully immersing, absorbing the lessons, the healing, and all the aspects around that, right? Which is what we refer to as integration. And instead of just, we're not putting it in a box and setting it away and saying, oh, we'll deal with that later. That's a form of spiritual bypassing. That's a form of so if anybody's talking about spiritual bypassing, it's really like, here's your lesson, and you're like, oh, okay, I see the lesson, I'm aware of the lesson, so I'm cool, but I'm gonna put it in a box and deal with it later, and then it never gets dealt with, right? And at times it's gonna come up, it's gonna break out of the box, and then you're gonna be like, oh, wait, I'm not ready for that yet. Oh, that's kind of scary, or oh, that's this. I'm gonna put it back in the box and put it away. That's like the equivalent of spiritual bypassing. Is you're not taking the lesson as it's coming to you. Again, whether that's hard, whether that's easy, whether that's traumatizing, whether that's whatever, you can take your time with it. There's no rush. But ignoring it's not going to help. It's never going to go away, right? It's going to come back up. Like some of the things that I've been experiencing coming back up that I didn't even know I had put in a box. That's how old they were. I'm in my 40s, okay? That shit happened to me when I was a teenager, when I was a child, and a young adult. And these are things that I had completely just put in a box and put away and didn't even know were going to come to the surface 40 fucking years, 30 years later, excuse my French. It was a doozy this time around, I will say that much. It was, hence the swearing. But I as a being, am here because I thrive on learning and growing. And in the physical form here on Earth, it is definitely much, much, much more challenging. Obviously, that's the way it is. And I have probably kept myself from learning and growing at different stages in my life, consciously and unconsciously. So I have better understanding of the integration process now, even though those older things have been coming up. To really sit with that a little deeper and to digest that a little bit deeper, right? Because I understand now how nourishing that is going to be for me in the long run. I've seen the blissful, positive states of mind here. Hi again. I've seen the blissful, positive states of mind that have come about from doing deeper integration work. And so even though there are times when I might find myself struggling a little bit, or feeling a little bit lost, I get to turn back to myself and congratulate myself and cheer myself on because I've come a long way. And if you have been working with yourself in a lot of those kinds of ways, if you're a healer, if you're somebody who offers services, if you're psychic, if you're, we're all psychic, really. There's just to what level, what degree, right? Or is it closed off? Is the door shut? Whatever. Or is it open a little bit? Or is it open more? Whatever it is, different for everybody. But just in general, if you have the capacity to hold compassion, if you have the capacity to understand lessons as they come to you and to jump into that lesson, I commend you for that and be proud of yourself. It might seem like we fall in and out of lagging spaces, feel stagnant at times. It's really all part of the journey and of the process of life here. Is all the duality and all the insights and just the constant growing. That's what our souls are here for, right? So, don't feel bad about when those moments happen, and feel confident in knowing that even if you get it wrong, which we sometimes do, you still learn something from it. There's still, like, you learned that it was maybe not the best way to go about it, right? So there's always something that you can gain from everything that you experience, and you can continue to integrate those things. So anyways, I'm gonna stop here. I hope that my rambling and my sharing was helpful in some way, or resonated with some people in some way, made sense to people in some way, that can be helpful, or just like another way, another perspective to look at it. So thank you for sitting with me if you did, and have a blessed and wonderful day. Thank you.